The most fun part about the story is that I've never been able to afford a supercar. I started Extreme Experience 9 years ago. At Extreme Experience, our main mission is letting everybody who's interested, and their mother, should they be interested, get behind the wheel of a supercar in really any way that they want to. With our program on the open road, you can drive through scenic highways all over the nation, or we visit 50 racetracks a year where you can put a car through its paces. But if I'm going to have supercars in that many locations, that means I have to acquire aforementioned supercars, and I probably throughout the year buy between 20 and 30 supercars, flip between 20 and 30 supercars a year. That is both an art and a science. I'd like to think that in some one way or another, I've probably purchased more Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and Porsches than anyone else my age. I don't know if anyone can justify, verify, or debate that fact, but I've been saying it since I was 27 and started buying the first 10 a year, and that's only exponentially grown over the years. The most fun part about the story is that I've never been able to afford a supercar. However, my previous statement will lead you to believe otherwise. And so to me, the magic has always been about a car or just anything else being an investment and something that you have to bet on appropriately so that you can enjoy it and get out of it and having made a profit, whether your profit is the experience of just having fun with a thing or your profit is actual money that you make leveraging the thing. And those have always been the two most important things to me. So when we first started buying supercars, it was all about understanding kind of that asymptotal graph of the price of the car when it depreciates the most, where the sweet spot is in the car, and then getting rid of it before it loses its warranty and then or crosses 10 or 20,000 miles, whatever its threshold is, and you lose the rest of it. So for the better part of a decade that I've been doing this, the mission was always get into a car about 2 years after it was purchased, depending on the car and all the information that you can get on it, and then get out of it at 9,999 miles. That's always how we did it. And for a long time, I was able to lose in depreciation 7-8% on a supercar, which was pretty fantastic because we'd take the cars and, of course, Extreme Experience, put them on the racetrack and make that money back and then some in a year. So it was a really great equation. The interesting part has been 2021 specifically and what's happening out there in the world today. Right now, I am watching cars not only climb in value, of course, but I'm watching them exceed their sticker price in value when they have 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 miles on them. And it's just been a wacky world that we've been living in. However, I just made the analogy to Bitcoin. It's kind of like, if this is the price of cars, then this is the price of cars. I'm going to pay for them now, but I also have a whole fleet of cars that I bought before 2021 that suddenly got a whole lot more valuable. So now my decision is, what do I do about my fleet of cars right now to maximize on the cars that I've had prior to this and kind of offset what we have now. The way that it works at Extreme is, so here's the magic. Our fleet right now has a little over 40 supercars. That has grown from a little over one supercar 9 years ago. Actually, no, I take that back. Not even 9 years ago, probably 7 years ago. For the first 2 years, Adam had no supercars. Extreme Experience had no supercars. Newsflash. But when we started buying our own supercars and not acquiring them from all of my secret sources, we financed them first and foremost. That's how I was able to help the bank, or the bank helped me get supercars. Then we started buying them cash. And around 2019, we owned the whole fleet cash. And then it was just adding more and more cars to the fleet. Every December, which is the worst time to sell a supercar for anyone paying attention because it's wintertime and no one's buying supercars. So unless you're me, don't sell your supercars in December. Sell them in March when everybody wants to start buying one. And if you're buying a supercar, buy it from me in December. Don't buy it in March. Simple math. All right. But anyway, I have to sell all my cars in December because that's when I have a few months off from the racing season to go flip the cars. So all the cars come back from their various racetracks in November and December. We get them to the warehouse and we put them back to stock. The brakes, the fluids, all the protective films and technology systems that we install into the cars. We take all those cars out. So by Christmas time, I have usually 20% of the fleet or so that has to be flipped automatically, either because it's got so many miles on it from the racetrack or because it's a model that we're going to retire and no longer use. So we get all these cars ready. Then I try to play the retail market, to be honest with you, depending on how pretty the car is. So I can sign a few for sure. Other ones get wholesaled at a number that I know is pretty close to retail. So when you know that I know exactly what this car is going to sell for, and I just prefer to not have the hassle, I can give it to you and say, you were going to agree on a margin. So we get them all prettied up and we wholesale them to local dealerships who put them on their lots, and they get to move them, or you can call us and we'll work out a deal. Then I get to go shopping, and shopping is fun. I have dealer licenses in 2 states, and so I get to go out there and I get to call people and say, what's in your garage that you want to get rid of? In my opinion, that's the best place to buy supercars, out of somebody's garage. They took great care of it. It's a personal car, and you know the owner, the previous owner, and you can get all the history from it. We love buying cars out of people's garages. We go straight through the dealerships that sold them those cars. We figure out who those owners were or are, and with permission or cooperation from a dealership, we kind of knock on their digital door and say, hey, what's in the garage that you might want to get rid of? We'd love to give it a second home. So in January, I start buying fleets of supercars, and I'm sure other people have told the stories as well, but this is the fun part, when Adam just opens the garage door at the warehouse and in drives new cars every day. And we'll be having some fun stuff in the fleet show up in January. Nothing like unloading supercars in the snow. It happens every year, and so it's a sight for the whole neighborhood, but that's always how it happens. That's when I get to drive the supercars, is in the winter in Chicago, because they're not on the racetrack. But we go through and we bring in the new cars and get them all track ready. And then, like I said, to bring it full circle, this year is going to be interesting for sure, because for the first time ever, we have this many cars. I have 40 cars I'm looking at, so the percentage of the fleet size grows. But then also I have a whole lot more of an investment that I'm looking at. So now the portfolio, quote unquote, isn't a perpetually depreciating kind of consistent algorithmic equation. Now I have these random stocks that some Ferraris are worth a lot of money. Some Lamborghinis are not. Porsches might be. You know, it's amazing. We were talking about our Hellcat, our Challenger, the other day, and I bought that car in late 2017. It was a 2018 model, I think, for $73,000. And I think it's worth $75,000 today with 33,000 track miles on it. So I fully intend on going through all my cars. If you have a car in your garage right now would be the time to consider what its value might be. Normally, generally speaking, we look at the depreciation factors, and you will find that, if you bought the car right 2 years ago when it was 2 years old, there's your 4-year warranty right there, which is about standard. Ferraris might be, I think they're 3 years, but you'll get Porsches that are 4 or more, especially if you got a free motor a couple of years ago. They've extended it. And then, of course, all your American cars have a 4 or 5 year warranty. So if you buy it a couple of years old, you use it for a couple of years, and then you get rid of it, you have to be ready to let it go. There's plenty of supercar gurus out there who will tell you hold it for 1 mile or 1 year too long, and all my advice goes out the window. But if you buy it a couple of years old, you drive it for a couple of years, and then I get rid of it, you can put it on the track and you can make money with it. And we are a walking, breathing example of that. And you can even do it if you sell half your fleet in December when you shouldn't be. So a lot of good people will get into reasonably priced supercars thanks to me. And I'll get out of old inventory and into new inventory because I know when to move it. That is the magic. When do you buy and when do you sell? When to hold, when to fold. And you can apply it to your personal cars too. I think that's an important thing that I want to mention, because once we got to a place where I could take this education and use it on myself a little bit, I was able to get in some fun cars for myself, the same way that I think a lot of people watching will. For the same payment you'll make on a brand new Jetta or any other car, you can buy a used fun car, a used exotic car, a used fast car, and sell it at the right time, and it's the same out-of-pocket expense to you, maybe minus brakes and tires, but it's the same out-of-pocket expense because you're just playing the curve, and so you could get into a Ferrari and enjoy it and get rid of it and spend no more than you would on an Audi, for instance. So that same equation applies to our personal lives, and everyone wonders what we drive because we're in the supercar business. So I always say, if I use my own math and I enjoy my own rules, then I can have the same fun in our fleet cars like we do in our personal cars, and vice versa. I would say of all the questions I've been asked in the 10 years I've been doing this, that is the number one question that I get asked. Now, here's the tough part. One, I live in the city of Chicago, downtown, so there is very little room to stretch anyone's legs. So if I need leg stretching, I still go do Extreme Experience. However, when I was growing up, my mom had a mid-90s A6. And when I drove that car, I thought the world belonged to me in that car. That engineering was something I'd never experienced before. So when I graduated from college, the first car I bought was a 2007 Jetta Wolfsburg edition, because why not get the trim package that I thought sounded more German? And I enjoyed driving the heck out of that car for a couple of years until I got into this business. When I got into this business and I was living downtown, I decided it was time for a truck. So I bought it, I used my own equation, and I bought a slightly used 2008 Range Rover HSE, full-sized, big V8, and just enjoyed it. And I knew that I had to sell it before the new model came out so that it didn't depreciate. And so I sold it, and I've been in a Range Rover ever since. And I use the exact same math. I buy a slightly used Range Rover or a new one if I lease it. We have a few in our family now, but we'll go with the used model, slightly used, keep it for a few years, and before the new model comes out, you get rid of it and let that depreciation carry on. So I currently drive a full-size autobiography, the 5-liter, 525 horses. So I liken it to, I mean, it is a supercar. Not too many years ago, that's exactly what a supercar had under one of its hoods. It's got the power, it's easy to drive in the city, and it's fun. And I recently added to my stable a 1997 Defender 90, a NOS Defender 90, resto. It was being resto modded. I took possession of it and finished a few things that were necessary so that it would keep driving. Because if you think new Land Rovers break down, you should see the old ones. So I also drive a modded up Defender 90 from 1997. It's automatic left-hand drive, but it's still in kilometers per hour, so it feels authentic. It's a lot of fun to drive around the city. Last year, I was very bored, and there weren't a lot of people around the city of Chicago, so I went out and bought the AMG GT-R, and that was kind of a personal car for a short period of time, because once again I was smart enough, and we sold it right into the business, and now you can race it on the track. If I had to choose a model to drive for the rest of my life, a manufacturer to drive for the rest of my life, even though I have a lot of Land Rovers, my answer would be a Mercedes-Benz. I think a Mercedes-Benz is a very drivable car. There's every option for every day of the week. It's a lot of fun to drive, so I want one close by at all times. So if you were to ask me what will happen with these AMGs in December when aforementioned sales process and time of year comes about, well, we might just have to see if one ends up in a garage in Lincoln Park, Chicago. But TBD on that. For now, supercharged Land Rovers. That's the way to go.